I found out I'm not my children's father, my own retirement party. The party that ended a life. The night Mark retired was supposed to be the happiest moment of his life. Surrounded by friends, coworkers, and family, he finally felt like all the long years of overtime, missed holidays, and sacrificed dreams had been worth it. There were balloons, catered food, a slideshow of his younger days, and a cake with "Happy Retirement, Mark" written in bright blue icing. People lined up to shake his hand and tell him he deserved the world. He believed he had it: a long marriage, 2 grown children, and a quiet future with his wife, Linda. For decades, that belief carried him through exhaustion and disappointment. What he did not know was that this night would become the moment everything he thought he knew about his family collapsed. One envelope, one test, and one terrible truth turned a celebration into the start of a completely different life. A lifetime of sacrifice. For most of his life, Mark's identity was simple: provider. He woke before sunrise, grabbed his coffee in a travel mug, kissed Linda on the cheek, and drove to the factory where he spent 40 years. The work was hard, the pay steady, and the schedule unforgiving. When Emily needed braces, Mark took double shifts. When Jason wanted to attend a better school, Mark sold his old car and started biking to work. He missed recitals, games, and birthdays, always promising to make it up later. Linda would reassure him that the children understood. They knew their father worked for them. At least, that's what she said. In moments of quiet, he wondered whether his absence would one day matter more than his effort. Still, each paycheck felt like proof that he loved his family the only way he knew how: by keeping a roof over their heads and a future within reach. Perfect retirement celebration. The retirement party was organized by his coworkers and gently polished by Linda. She picked his tie, practiced her toast, and coached him on what to say when the manager handed him the plaque. Their children arrived separately: Emily with a bouquet of flowers, Jason with a firm handshake and a quiet "I'm proud of you, Dad." For the first time in years, Mark let himself relax. Maybe he hadn't been perfect, but look at them now: grown, healthy, smiling. A coworker clicked through an old slideshow. Mark in his first week at the job, young and hopeful. Mark with a newborn Emily in his arms. Mark pushing Jason on a swing. The room laughed at his outdated haircut and cheered when his long list of achievements appeared. Linda stood beside him, hand on his arm, glowing under the compliments. This, Mark thought, is what it feels like when everything was worth it. The envelope that should never have been opened. As the evening went on, people began giving speeches. A coworker joked about the time Mark fixed a machine with duct tape and sheer stubbornness. Linda gave a tearful thank you to everyone for being his second family. Then came the surprise. Emily approached the microphone with a nervous smile, holding a plain white envelope. She announced that, as a fun tribute, she had arranged for a small family project that would be revealed tonight. Mark chuckled, expecting an old photograph or maybe a letter from a relative. Instead, Emily handed him the envelope and asked him to open it in front of everyone. She said it would prove once and for all that he was the strongest man she knew. His hands shook slightly as he slid his finger under the flap. Inside was a printed document with official-looking logos and rows of numbers and percentages. At the top, in bold letters, were 3 words that made his stomach twist: paternity test results, public humiliation, and silent truth. At first, Mark did not understand what he was looking at. His name appeared, along with the names of Emily and Jason. Below, there were lines filled with strange terms and percentages. He heard someone chuckle, thinking this was a joke. Then he saw it, written clearly in language even his stunned mind could not misread. The results stated he was not the biological father of either child. The room fell silent. Someone turned off the slideshow. Linda's face went pale. Emily's smile collapsed. Jason stared at the floor. No one moved, no one spoke. A coworker awkwardly cleared his throat and tried to change the subject, but the damage was done. Mark's vision blurred as decades of memories, first steps, graduations, family dinners, flashed before his eyes. In the middle of his own celebration, in front of friends and colleagues, his family's truth was stripped bare. Confrontation behind closed doors. The party ended abruptly. Someone suggested turning the music back on, but a few people were already slipping out, whispering. Mark walked out without his plaque, without his cake, without his coat. Linda followed him to the parking lot, calling his name. He finally stopped under a harsh streetlight and turned to face her, that paper still crumpled in his hand. He did not shout, he simply asked, "How long have you known?" The way Linda closed her eyes told him everything. She admitted that the truth went back decades. There had been a mistake, then a choice, then another lie to cover the first. She claimed she wanted to protect the family. She never thought the truth would come out, and she never meant to hurt him. To Mark, those explanations sounded smaller than the years he had spent working, loving, and believing. The betrayal felt complete. Children caught in the crossfire. The next day, their home felt like a stage after the audience had left, objects still in place, but the meaning gone. Emily and Jason came over, having spent the night messaging each other and reading the report again and again. They were adults now, old enough to grasp the weight of what had been done to all of them. They sat across from Mark, hands clasped tightly, like kids waiting for a verdict. Emily broke down first, insisting she had never known. The test had been meant as a sweet gesture, something to highlight their bond. Jason whispered that, no matter what any paper said, Mark was the only father he had ever known. They were angry, not at him, but at the quiet decisions made before they were even born. In that room, 3 people shared the same wound, even if it had cut them in different ways. 7. Rebuilding identity and drawing boundaries. In the weeks that followed, the household changed. Mark moved into the guest room at first, then began spending more time away, driving aimlessly or sitting alone at a park. He spoke with a counselor who explained that grief is not reserved for funerals. Losing the life he thought he had, the version of himself he had believed in, required its own mourning. He was not just angry, he was grieving a story that would never be fully true again. He made one clear decision. He would remain in Emily's and Jason's lives. He had raised them, guided them, and loved them. That bond could not be erased by any document. However, his marriage could not continue as it was. He drew firm boundaries with Linda, refusing to gloss over decades of deception. Forgiveness, if it ever came, would not mean pretending nothing had happened. It would mean acknowledging everything. Morality, healing, and a new ending. Over time, the story people whispered about became something else entirely for Mark. What began as public humiliation slowly turned into a private reconstruction of values. He learned that truth delayed is still truth owed. Choices made in secrecy eventually land on someone's shoulders, and the weight may crush the very people they were meant to protect. He also learned that love, when grounded in daily actions instead of simple biology, can survive the shock of revelations. The moral of his story was not that families fall apart when secrets come out. It was that trust is a living thing that must be fed with honesty, even when honesty is uncomfortable. Mark chose to reclaim his dignity, not by denying the hurt, but by refusing to pass it on. He continued to show up for Emily and Jason, modeling what responsibility looks like. In doing so, he proved that a person's true identity is not defined only by blood, but by consistent care, integrity, and the courage to face hard truths rather than hide from them. The party wasn't the end. What was supposed to be the final chapter of Mark's working life became the first chapter of his new personal reality. The retirement party that started with laughter and congratulations ended with a paper that challenged everything he believed about himself. Yet as painful as it was, the truth forced everyone to stop living inside a polished story and start dealing with real consequences. It revealed how secrecy can quietly shape a family for years, and how facing that secrecy, however late, can still open the door to change. His journey shows that deception may buy temporary comfort, but it always collects a debt. When that bill finally arrives, it rarely lands on the person who started the lie alone. It lands on everyone attached to them. The deeper meaning is simple. Choose honesty before comfort, responsibility before convenience, and character before image. A life built on truth might not look as perfect from the outside, but it does not collapse the moment someone opens an envelope.